I didn't plan for it. No woman does. It creeps in slowly. The silence, the routine, the way affection fades into absence. It starts small, missed glances. A hand that used to reach for you at night now just turns off the lamp. And before you know it, you're sitting beside someone who doesn't even see you anymore. For years, I pretended not to notice. I kept the house running, smiled at birthdays, kissed his cheek when people were watching. But inside I was hollow. I would catch my reflection in the mirror and barely recognize the woman looking back. I wore soft colors, kept my body covered, because what was the point? No one was looking. Then came that summer. My son had just come home from his second year at college, and he brought his best friend along to stay for a while. I remembered him as a lanky, quiet boy from their high school days. But he wasn't a boy anymore. He was tall now, broad-shouldered, with a quiet confidence that lingered behind his eyes. He moved with calm, like he didn't need to speak to be heard. The first time we stood alone in the kitchen, I was pouring coffee and spilled a little. He reached across and wiped the counter slowly, eyes not on the mess, but on my hands. That moment should have meant nothing, but it did. Something shifted. It wasn't obvious, not at first. Just the way his eyes followed me when I moved through a room. The way he held my gaze a second too long. He never said anything inappropriate, but he didn't have to. His eyes did it all. Days passed like that. Hot afternoons where I found myself reaching for shorter sleeves, lighter dresses. I wasn't trying to seduce anyone. I was just remembering how it felt to be seen. One night, the house was quiet. My husband had gone to bed early, like always. I was in the kitchen, barefoot, in a thin robe I hadn't worn in years. He walked in for water. I turned, and there he was, shirtless, chest rising and falling, eyes dark and unreadable. Neither of us moved. He looked at me like I was something he'd been holding back from touching for a long time. I don't know who moved first, but suddenly we were standing too close, breath mingling in the stillness. "Do you know how long I've been wanting to look at you like this?" he said. I didn't answer. His fingers brushed my waist, barely touching. But it lit something in me I'd forgotten existed. I trembled, half from fear, half from hunger. I whispered, "You shouldn't." He answered, "I know." But he didn't stop, and I didn't want him to. When he kissed me, it wasn't rough or rushed. It was reverent, like he was tasting something he knew he shouldn't have, but couldn't deny himself anymore. We didn't go to my bedroom. That belonged to another life. We found the guest room instead. Quiet, hidden, unfamiliar. He undressed me slowly, like I was sacred. His hands traced the curves age had softened. He didn't flinch. He worshipped them. When his lips moved along my collarbone, down my chest, across the stomach, I'd once been ashamed of, shame dissolved. There was no noise, just sighs, breaths, skin brushing skin. When he entered me, my whole body responded like it had been waiting for that exact moment, not just for the pleasure, but for the feeling of being chosen. He didn't just take me, he held me, eyes locked on mine the whole time. No games, no guilt, just truth. And in that moment, wrapped around him, heart pounding, tears slipping from my eyes, I realized what I'd been missing all these years. Not sex, presence. When it was over, we didn't speak. He just ran his fingers through my hair until I fell asleep. I woke before sunrise and returned to the quiet life waiting for me down the hall. But something inside had changed forever. That night, I wasn't a mother or a wife. I wasn't a memory of who I used to be. I was a woman, seen, touched, remembered. It was the way his eyes lingered. Not like he was undressing me, no. It was something deeper. Like he was trying to remember me with every glance, studying the way I moved, the way I breathed, the way I held the edge of the counter when I laughed too softly. That laugh hadn't come out in years, not like that. It caught me off guard the first time, like it wasn't mine. He was helping with dinner, cutting vegetables while I stirred the pot. The air between us had become something I didn't understand but couldn't deny. He stood too close, his arm brushing mine every time he reached for something. I should have stepped back, I didn't. I dropped a spoon, and as I bent to pick it up, he did too. Our hands touched, fingers lingered. I looked up. His face was inches from mine, and in that second, nothing was innocent anymore. That night stayed in my skin, in my breath. I couldn't sleep. I tossed in bed, listening to the ceiling fan hum. My husband lay next to me, snoring, unaware of the fire lit just one room away. The next evening it rained. Power flickered, then vanished. I lit candles, poured wine, and he joined me in the kitchen again. We didn't talk about the night before. We didn't need to. The silence between us said everything. Lightning cracked the sky, but I didn't flinch. His voice was low when he asked, "Do you ever think about being touched the way you deserve?" I held my breath. I should have left the room. I should have told him this was wrong. Instead, I nodded. He stepped forward slowly, giving me time to move. I didn't. His fingers touched my jaw, tilting my face toward his. His lips brushed mine so gently I barely felt it, but it shattered something in me. I gasped, and he took that as permission. The kiss deepened. His hands found my waist, my back, pulling me against him. I hadn't been held like that in years. My body melted, pressed to his. I clung to his shirt, needing to feel the strength beneath it. He lifted me onto the counter. I let my legs wrap around him. I was dizzy, drunk on the way he touched me, like I was breakable and burning all at once. His lips moved from my mouth to my neck to my shoulder. I tugged at his shirt, needing skin. We ended up in the guest room again, soaked from the rain. Clothes fell off piece by piece, each one a layer of the woman I used to be, peeled away to reveal something raw and alive underneath. He looked at me in the candlelight, eyes full of heat and reverence. "Are you sure?" He whispered. I reached for him, fingers trembling. Yes. He took his time. He didn't rush, didn't tear into me. He studied every inch like he'd waited years for the right to explore it. His mouth traced every line of my body, soft and slow, until I was shaking beneath him. And when he finally moved inside me, I felt myself come undone. There was no shame, no guilt, just heat, motion. Breath, hands gripping sheets, pulling him closer, whispers exchanged in the dark, his name in my mouth like prayer, my nails in his back like proof. We made love like two people who needed to feel everything. Not just skin, but soul. Not just desire, but release. And when it ended, we didn't pull away. He stayed wrapped around me, his hand resting on my hip, as if afraid I'd vanish. I didn't cry this time. I just breathed, deeply, like a woman who had remembered her body wasn't broken, that it still responded, still wanted, still mattered. In that room, during that storm, I learned what real touch feels like. Not rushed, not expected, not routine, but chosen, cherished, claimed. The world outside kept spinning, unaware. But inside that room, time stood still, just long enough for me to remember what it meant to be touched like I was the only woman left on earth. It started with silence, not the kind that hurts, but the kind that settles, heavy, familiar. I had lived in that quiet for years, nights where no one reached for me, mornings where I watched the man beside me wake without a single glance in my direction. My body had stopped asking to be noticed. I dressed in soft fabrics, not for beauty, but for comfort. I didn't wait for compliments because I knew they weren't coming. I had become invisible in my own home. And then he walked in, my son's best friend, home from college, with that calm way about him, like he belonged in every room he entered. He didn't flirt, he didn't tease, but he noticed. Every time I passed him a glass, every time I laughed a little too long at something ordinary, his eyes followed like he was holding something back, and maybe I was too. It was never planned. It couldn't be. But life sometimes doesn't wait for permission. That afternoon, it was raining, thunder low and lazy. He was sitting on the couch, quiet, reading. I was nearby, folding clothes. I bent down to pick up a towel, and when I turned, he was watching me, openly, intently. No embarrassment, no apology. I straightened, heart pounding for no reason I wanted to admit. And then he spoke, voice low, soft like the rain. You ever think about how long it's been since someone really touched you? I froze. My fingers gripped the towel tighter. He stood slowly, closed the space between us. I think about it every time I look at you. I should have told him to stop. I should have left the room, but I didn't. I couldn't. His hand reached up, fingers brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. And then, without a word, his lips touched the base of my neck. Just there, where no one had kissed me in years. It was gentle. Barely a kiss, but my knees nearly gave out. My breath caught. Something cracked open. Not lust, not guilt. Something deeper, something like remembrance. His hand slid down my arms, then my waist, and then he paused. Letting me decide, I nodded, and he kissed me again, lower this time, his mouth tracing a line down my chest, over skin I had long stopped thinking of as beautiful, but under his touch it came alive again. Clothes slipped away like petals. He looked at me like he was discovering something precious. His lips moved down, slow and reverent. When his mouth met the softest part of me, untouched for years, I gasped so loudly it frightened me. Not because it hurt, because it healed. I gripped the edge of the bed. My head fell back. His tongue moved with patience, not greed, as if this wasn't about conquering, but restoring, and it did. With every kiss, every breath, every tender sound he pulled from me, my body remembered. I wasn't cold, I wasn't invisible, I was wanted, deeply, unapologetically. He moved up, kissing my stomach, my chest, my throat. By the time he reached my lips again, I was shaking. Then he entered me. No rush, just slow, perfect rhythm. Our hands locked, my eyes locked on his. I let go, let it happen, let it be. Every movement, every moan, every breath felt like a part of me being sewn back together. We didn't speak, there was no need. His touch said it all. He kissed my shoulder, whispered something I barely heard, and then, finally, I let the tears come, not from sadness, but from being felt. When it was over, he pulled the blanket over us and wrapped his arms around me like I was something to protect. And I let him. That night wasn't about rebellion. It wasn't about escape. It was about being reminded that this skin, this heart, this body, it still mattered to someone. And that was enough.